For exercise 26b, we are to read aloud each of these 11 sentences and translate them. Special emphasis is going to be given on this page to demonstrative adjectives and demonstrative pronouns, the charts for which are available on page 240 to 241 in case you would like any sort of refresher on demonstrative adjectives and demonstrative pronouns. Just to distinguish between them, demonstrative adjectives are when a pronoun or when a word like hic, hi, coke, or ile, ala, alud modify another noun. However, these hic, hi, coke, and ile, ala, alud can stand on their own as words. They can be used without nouns as pronouns, meaning he or she or it or this or that, just depending on context. Hic, hi, coke is a demonstrative adjective meaning this, and in the plural it means these, whereas ile, ala, lud means that or those. That or those. Hic, hi, coke generally is used when the speaker is referring to an object that is close to them. So you can think of it in the sense of being near to them, the near demonstrative adjective or the near demonstrative pronoun. Remember, it's an adjective if it modifies another noun, and it's a pronoun if it stands in place of another noun. And the word ile, ala, lud oftentimes is called a far demonstrative pronoun or a far demonstrative adjective, just depending on its usage. So let's go ahead and translate these words here, referring back to the preceding page as much as we would need to. So, hic puer in hoc via, ile in illa habitat. Habitat here is our verb. It means lives. It's present tense and third person singular. It's implied that habitat is the main verb in this first clause here. Knowing that, we can go ahead and translate it. Hic puer is our subject. Hic is a demonstrative adjective that's nominative and singular and masculine. It is modifying the word puer, which is also nominative, singular, and masculine. So you would translate it as this boy, and in this case the word hic is acting as a demonstrative adjective since it is modifying the word puer. It's referring to this boy in particular. Now this boy lives, and where does this boy live? But on this street, lives on this street. Haec is a ablative, singular, and feminine demonstrative adjective, which is determined by the case, number, and gender of the word via. Via here is ablative, singular, and feminine. So hence, as you have an adjective here that modifies it, it has to agree with it in case, number, and gender, which it does. All right, let's go on to the next clause. Ile in illa habitat. Now you can see here the demonstrative pronouns, ile, illa, illud. You can see ili here and illa here. These are operating as pronouns because they're not modifying another noun. Rather, they are standing in the place of another noun, which is called the antecedent. The case and number of these nouns is determined partly by its antecedent and also by its function in this sentence here, in this part of the sentence here. So habitat is still our verb, just translated as lives. Ile is nominative, masculine, and singular. It's the far demonstrative pronoun, so you're going to translate it as that. You can also translate it as he, or even the former, if you really wanted to. But given that it is also nominative, masculine, and singular, it's probably referring to a boy. So you could translate it as that boy. So referring to another boy, maybe a friend of Marcus or Sextus. So ile, with its antecedent being the word puer, so it's talking about a boy that lives. And where does that boy live? In Ilah. Ilah is acting as another demonstrative pronoun with its antecedent being the word wia, so lives on that street. That street. As you can see, Ilah is ablative, singular, and feminine. Hence agreeing with the word wia, which is ablative, singular, and feminine. So Ilah here acting as a demonstrative pronoun and referring to the word wia, which is operating as its antecedent, so lives on that street. The word street is just implied. You could, if you wanted to be very literal, just say on that one. So that boy lives on that street, or that one. But in the back of your mind, it should go to the word wia here. Let's go ahead and translate the whole thing. Hic puer, this boy, habitat, lives in or on this street, or this road, or this way. Ille, that one lives on that street, or that road, or that one, or that way. Okay? Next sentence. Illa puella in hoc via habitat, hi pueri in illa habitant. Illa puella is our subject. Illa is a feminine, nominative, singular, demonstrative adjective, meaning that girl lives in hoc via, in this country house. And then you've got another independent clause immediately following it. Hi pueri in illa habitant. Hi pueri is our subject. The word he is nominative, plural, and masculine, and it's operating as a demonstrative adjective, modifying pueri. So you would translate it as these boys, pueri being nominative, masculine, and plural. Habitant is our verb, so live, present tense, third person plural. And then in illa, it's a prepositional phrase, so in, and it's the far demonstrative pronoun, so you translate it in that. And if you notice here, the A with the macron is a feminine ablative singular ending, so in that, and since it's a demonstrative pronoun, it has an antecedent, which is going to be we la. And you can see here that we la is also ablative, feminine, and singular. So the form of ille, illa, illud that we have here is also going to be feminine and singular, and it's operating as a prepositional phrase in the sentence as well, so it's the same case. So, in that country house, or that one, implied that the sentence here, the speaker is referring to a particular country house, that country house. Go ahead and translate the whole sentence again. Illa puella, that girl, habitat, lives in hoc villa, in this country house. Hi pueri, these boys, live in that one or that country house, with its antecedent being the word we la here. Next one, number 3. Si in hoc capona pronacta bimus, hic capo nobis cercerte nocebet. Si is just the word if. In hoc capona pronacta vibimus. Pronacta vibimus here has our subject and our verb. This particular word here, pronacta vibimus, is first person plural. So we're going to translate it with the word we, which is here. You can tell by the letters bi that are in between the root of this verb and its personal endings that it is in the future tense. So we are going to translate it with the word will. If we will, And then per nocta, the root of this word means spend the night. If we will spend the night. Where? In hoc capona. Hoc is from hic haec hoc, so we're going to translate it this. And if you can see here, it's ablative, singular, and feminine, referring to the word in. So if we will spend the night in this inn, if we will spend the night in this inn, hoc here is operating as a demonstrative adjective, modifying the word in. What will happen? Hic calpo, let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Hic calpo nobis certe nocebit. Hic calpo is the subject of this independent clause. Hic calpo is translated as this innkeeper. This innkeeper. Nobis certe nocebit. Nocebit here is our verb. It's from nokeo. Nocere. Nocui. Nocituros, which means to do harm. This particular verb typically takes a direct object in the dative case, and so we've got the word nobis here, which is dative in plural, and means for us. The word means harm, and you can tell by the letters bi in between the roots of this verb and its personal endings that it's in the future tense. So this innkeeper will, and then the word just means harm, will harm, then nobis, us, and then certe, certainly, or this innkeeper will certainly harm us. Hic calpo, the word this here, that near demonstrative pronoun, near demonstrative adjective, the word hic is modifying the word calpo, and so they are both in the nominative masculine and singular form. Go ahead and translate this one again. If we will spend the night in hoc capona, in this inn, hic calpo, this innkeeper will harm certainly us, or will certainly harm us. Will certainly harm us. Next sentence. Ille praedones, illes viatores, sub illes arboribus petant. Ille praedones is our subject. Ille is a demonstrative adjective and is masculine, nominative, and plural. And that would be translated as those. Praedones means robbers. So those robbers. Praedones is masculine, nominative, and plural, and is a third declension noun. Illes viatores is our direct object. You can tell by the os ending on illos and the es ending on the third declension noun viatores that this is accusative and plural. So we can't do anything with that. We need to go down to our direct object to see what's going on here. Petant is from peto, petore, meaning to seek, or probably better in this case, to attack, to seek or to attack. So those robbers are attacking, as it's present tense, third person and plural. Those robbers are attacking, and then we can go back to our direct object, illos viatores, which is those travelers. Illes viatores. Illos here is not accusative, plural, and masculine. So that's acting as our direct object. You can see here that the ending on illos is very similar to the endings on second declension masculine nouns like servos or pueros and so on and so forth. So those robbers are attacking those travelers sub illis arboribus. Well, arboribus, I know, is a third declension noun and is ablative and plural and means trees. Sub is a preposition meaning under. And illis is a demonstrative adjective modifying arboribus. So as a result, it's going to be ablative, feminine, and plural. Ablative, feminine, and plural. So those robbers are attacking those travelers under those trees. Under those trees. Those robbers are attacking those travelers under those trees. In this case, you've got 3 instances of demonstrative adjectives, specifically the far demonstrative adjective, that, those. 1 masculine nominative in plural, 1 masculine accusative in plural, and 1 ablative feminine in plural, all depending on the nouns that they modify. Number 5, quando illi hoc onera in viam portabant. Quando, it's the word when in Latin, so when. Portabant is our verb. It's third person and plural. You can tell by the BU letters that are snuck in between the root of this verb, porta, and its personal endings, the letters NT, that it is future tense. And it comes from the verb porto, portare, which means to carry. To carry. Now the subject of this sentence is a little odd. It's the word ille appearing by itself. Ille is from the demonstrative pronoun ille, illa, illud. If you can see here that illi could be dative singular, but could also be nominative plural and masculine. And given our plural verb, portabant, this should be acting as the subject of our sentence rather than, an indirect object. So when, and then since ille, illa, illud means that or those, and it's plural, we're going to say, when will those, so erase this, when will those, let's just put ones, or those people, not quite sure what the antecedent is, when will those people carry, hike, onera? Onera is a third declension noun meaning burdens. It's neuter, so onera here is going to be accusative or nominative plural based on that a ending that it has. And since we have a subject already with illa, this should not be nominative, but should act as our direct object. So when will those ones carry burdens? When will those ones carry burdens? And we've got a demonstrative adjective here in hike. And if you look on the charts on the preceding page, you'll see 2 different forms of the word hike because it's neuter. You can see it in the accusative and in the nominative plural forms. Given that hike here is neuter, it should agree with onera or be paired with onera. So in this case, when will those ones carry these burdens? These burdens. Hike is accusative, plural, and neuter, same as the word onera. Accusative, plural, and neuter, into the country house. When will those ones carry the burdens into the country house? Let's go ahead and translate this one again, as this one is rather long. Quando, when, portabant, will those ones carry these burdens into the country house? When will those ones carry the burdens into the country house? Next sentence, noli illud plaustrum in hanc arpum inter deo agere. The first thing that we should notice here is that we have a negative singular imperative in noli agere. An imperative in Latin is a command, and a negative imperative is a negative to command. So you're telling someone to not do something. A negative imperative is formed in Latin from the verb nolo nelle, which means to not wish or to not want. The form of it that appears will, in the singular, will look like this noli, and is translated as don't. And the action that you're telling someone to not do is expressed by the infinitive that it's paired with. So in this case, the word agere, which means drive. So don't drive. Don't drive. And what are we not supposed to drive? So noli agere, don't drive. Illud plaustrum. Illud is a demonstrative adjective from that or those. Plaustrum is a second declension neuter noun meaning wagon or cart. Wagon or cart. You can see here the form illud is a neuter nominative or accusative singular form. So it's an adjective that's modifying the word plaustrum. So you would translate it as that cart, that cart. We have two more parts of the sentence that we need to translate. In hanc arpem, which is into the city. It's a prepositional phrase. And whenever you've got the preposition in paired with a word in the accusative, it's implying direction. So you should use the word into. So into this city. And then the word inter deu means during the day. During the day. I'll go ahead and translate all these pieces together. Noli agere, don't drive. And then illud plaustrum, which is going to be accusative, neuter, and singular. Don't drive that cart. In hanc arpem, we've got a nice prepositional phrase. Into this city. Hanc is accusative, feminine, and singular, modifying the accusative, feminine, singular noun. Arpem, don't drive that cart into this city. And then inter deu, which is just an adverb meaning during the day. Let's go on to the next sentence. Next sentence, huic puero multa dabimus illi nihil. Puero is dative, singular, and masculine. And the word huic here, as you can see, is also dative, masculine, and singular. So this matches up very nicely. Huic puero can't stand as our subject, though. It's operating as our indirect object since it's in the dative case. So we need to go down the sentence and try to find a word that can operate as our subject, which we find here with dabimus. The mus ending, this is a first-person plural ending, and so we would use the word we to translate it. You can also see that dabimus here is future tense. So whatever action is that is being conveyed by the word da, it's happening in the future. So we will give. The word da, or the root da, is from do dare, which is the verb to give in Latin. So a first person plural and future tense form of the verb do dare, to give, is translated we will give. And what we will give is signified by the word multa here, which is from multus, multa, multum, meaning much or many. It's a first and second declension adjective, and if you were to look on the charts on page 268, it's going to match up with the forms of magnus, magna, magnum. And so if you see here, this particular word could be nominative, feminine, and singular. It could be vocative, feminine, and singular. Or it could be neuter, nominative, and plural. Or accusative, nominative, and plural. Given the context of the sentence, though, this really can't be a nominative case noun because we already have our subject in the word dabimus with the word we. So as a result, it needs to be in the accusative, And so that leaves us with accusative, neuter, and plural. You can also see here that while multus, multa, multum is an adjective, it's not modifying another noun. So in these cases, the word multa is translated as many things, many things. And it's acting here as a substantive adjective. And since it's in the neuter gender, it refers to things. If it was, say, in the feminine gender, it would refer to many, maybe many girls or many women. If it was in the masculine gender, many people or many men. But in this case, since it's neuter, it's just referring to things. We will give many things. Let's clean this up a little bit. So, dabimus, we will give, multa, many things, and now this indirect object, huero, makes perfect sense. We will give many things to this boy, And then we've got another clause here, and the verb dabimus here is implied as being the main verb of this particular clause. And translated, the word illy here is going to be masculine, dative, and singular. So you translate it as to that one or to that boy, assuming that it's also a boy, as indicated by the word puero here. To that one, we will give, and then the word nihil is indeclinable and just means nothing. The word nihil does not take a case ending in the way that other nouns do, so you can just translate it as your direct object here, because that's what makes the most sense. Let's go ahead and translate this one again. Dabimus, we will give multa, many things, to this boy. To that boy, nothing. Or to that boy, we will give nothing. Next, his rusticis lacibit, agros huis villae rusticae colerae. The first thing to notice about this sentence is we have what's called an impersonal verb phrase with the word lacabit, which is translated as it will be allowed. And I'm translating it with the word will because the letters bi here plainly indicate the future tense. So it will be allowed, and then it will be allowed for these peasants, his rusticis, for these peasants to do something, which is colere here. The impersonal verb phrase is a Latin idiom, wherein you've got a word like lacabit or necessa est that is paired with an infinitive that tells you what it is necessary to do, or in this case, what it is allowed to do. So in this case, it will be allowed for these peasants to cultivate. Now let's go ahead and clean this up, and we can translate the sentence. So it will be allowed, his rusticis, for these peasants, dative, masculine, and plural, colere, to cultivate the fields. Agros here is masculine, accusative, and plural, to cultivate the fields. And then huius villae rusticae is to cultivate the fields of this country house and farm. Huius is genitive and singular, and villae rusticae is also genitive and singular, and you know that it's feminine based off this AE case ending. So huius, which could be masculine, feminine, has to be feminine, and it's be feminine, genitive, and singular. I'll go ahead and translate the whole sentence again. Lacebit, it will be allowed, his rusticis, for these peasants, colere, to cultivate the fields of this country house and farm. of this country house and farm. Let's go ahead on to number 9. Huic senatore ad curiam in lectica redire necesse erat. Necesse erat. Necesse erat is an impersonal verb phrase, much like in number 8. And in this case, it's using an imperfect form of sum esse. Erat comes from the verb sum esse, the verb to be. Since it's imperfect, we're going to translate it as it was necessary. And this impersonal verb phrase is used alongside a dative case noun, which in this case is going to be huic senatore. If you look here, dative case in the word huic, it's dative, singular, and it could be that form there, huic, could be masculine, feminine, or neuter. But if you look at the charts, or if you know the word senator, senatores, senatoris, you know that that particular noun is masculine, and so huic here should be masculine too as a result. An impersonal verb phrase will often take a noun in the dative case. So this dative case huic senatore makes perfect sense. So it would be translated, it was necessary for this senator. And what was it necessary for the senator to do? Redire, to return, ad curiam, to the Senate House, in lectica, in a letter. I'll go ahead and translate that again. Huic senatore ad curiam in lectica redere necessa erat. Necessa erat, it was necessary for this senator, and huic here is our demonstrative adjective modifying senatore. Both of them are going to be dative, masculine, and singular. It was necessary for this senator to return, redire, ad curiam, feminine, accusative, and singular, operating as the object of the preposition ad, in lectica, in a litter. Lectica here is ablative, feminine, and singular. It was necessary for this senator to return to the Senate House in a litter. Next, number 10. Ille aedificio appropinquare periculosum est, non scelesti homines ibi habitant. We can go ahead and translate this first clause here. So, ille aedificio appropinquare periculosum est. There's not necessarily a subject here in this sentence, but we do have the infinitive appropinquare, which can be used as the subject of the verb est. And so that seems to make the most sense here. So appropinquare means to approach. To approach. And then ille aedificio, that building. Appropinquare is a verb that typically takes a noun in the dative case as kind of its direct object. So to approach, ille aedificio, that building, and ille aedificio is dative, neuter, and singular. So to approach that building, periculosum est, is dangerous. To approach that building is dangerous. And why? It's answered by the dependent clause, starting here with the word nam. Nam, for sceleste homines, for wicked men live. Habitant there is present tense, third person plural, live, ibi, there. I'll translate the whole sentence. To approach, ille aedificio, that building, is dangerous, for wicked men live, habitant, there. For wicked men live there. Next and last sentence, number 11. Unus ex his praedonibus aliquid illi sero dicebat. Dicebat here is our verb. It's from dico, dicere, which means to speak or say. And this particular form is imperfect, third person, and singular. Unus is just the Latin word for one. And then one of these robbers, or one out of these robbers, was saying something, and then alequid is just translated something, was saying something, and then illo servo, to that servant. Ille servo is dative, masculine, and singular. So he was saying something to that servant. Now let's go ahead and translate this one again from the beginning. Unus ex his praedonibus, one out of those robbers, and his praedonibus is ablative, plural, and masculine. One out of those robbers was saying something, alequid was saying something to that servant. And that does it for exercise 26B. Nice job.